Namable welcome to everyone. This is our Allied Legnum channel to enhance your understanding. Today's topic is about anesthesia ventilators. A ventilator is a device that supports or takes over the breathing process, pumping air into the lungs of a patient who is unable to do so. This is a picture of a ventilator. History of ventilators. During the 20th century, there was a polio outbreak where many patients' lungs were paralyzed by that disease. The ventilator, which was initially used at that point, was iron lung. An iron lung was a rectangular metal box in which the patients were placed with only their heads protruding outside. Their body will be inside the chamber. Air pumps from two vacuum cleaners change the pressure inside the box by pulling air in and out of the lungs. Early anesthesia machine had a breathing system which required the clinician to manually squeeze the reservoir back to ventilate the patient. This is a picture of an iron lung. You can see the head of the patient protruding out while the body will be inside that metal chamber. Life critical system. As we know, the breathing of a patient is carried out by the mechanical ventilator. A failure of that ventilator can lead to death of the patient. Precautions. While switching to a ventilator, we should always be cautious about the power supply, manual backup mechanism, and safety valves, which will open to the atmosphere during the power cut. Terminologies. These are some terminology we use most often when it comes to ventilators. Dead space. Volume of ventilated air that does not participate in any gaseous exchange. Weaning. It is the timing of withdrawal of ventilation. Need of ventilators. In anesthesia, when a patient is given muscle relaxant, the entire muscle of the body relaxes, including the respiratory muscle. So, we need ventilators. Home care in hypoventilated patient. Hypoventilated means when the patient's breathing is too slow or inadequate to meet the needs of our body. In emergency medicine and in ICU. Indication of mechanical ventilators: acute respiratory failure, coma, COAD, which is chronic obstructive airway disease, neuromuscular agents. Classification of ventilators. According to their mechanism of action, ventilators can be classified as mechanical thumbs, minute volume dividers, back squeezers, intermittent blowers. Now we'll see about this in detail. Mechanical thumb. By intermittently occluding the end of a T-piece is nothing but a tube in shape of a T where it provides intermittent passive pressure ventilation. Intermittent passive pressure ventilation is a respiratory therapy for people who are hypoventilating. It can be given via a face mask to expand the lungs to ventilate the patient. In this picture, you can see that one end is blocked by a finger. Minute volume dividers. Here, minute volume is nothing but the amount of gas inhaled or exhaled from a person's lung in 1 minute. Anesthesia machine delivers a steady flow of anesthetic gas at a set rate, which is known as the minute volume. The steady minute volume flow of gas from anesthesia machine is divided into the tidal volumes by a piece of apparatus which is known as minute volume divider. Most minute volume dividers have an adjusting knob which varies the tidal volume. In this apparatus, we have one inspiratory and an expiratory valve linked together. These ventilators are referred to as minute volume divider since they just divide up the intended minute volume supplied by the driving gas. Here, driving gas is nothing but a pressurized O2 air which is being supplied. Back squeezers. This is usually employed in Mapleson D system, also known as Bain circuit. Anesthesia machine are fitted with a mechanical ventilators that uses a collapsible bellows within a closed chamber or a canister. The bellows are squeezed when O2 or air is directed into the chamber, thereby pressurizing it. It can also be squeezed mechanically by means of a motor or a lever. Intermittent blowers. These ventilators are driven by a source of gas or air at a pressure of 45 to 60 psi. The driving gas is normally delivered to the patient undiluted, but it may also be passed through a Venturi device so that the air, O2, or anesthetic gas may be added to it. Modern anesthesia ventilator can be classified based on the basis of power source, drive mechanism, circuit designation, types of bellows. First, we'll see about power source. Power source is the force that drives gas into the patient's lung. It can either be compressed gas or by electricity or both. Ventilators can be classified as double circuit, bellows ventilator, single circuit, piston ventilators. Double circuit. So, double circuit means that during the driving gas, which are pressurized, O2 and air compresses the bellow, which empties its content into the patient. Those driving gas will be outside the bellows, and the inside of the bellows is connected to the breathing system. These are most commonly used. In this circuit, the bellows will be present in a canister or a box like structure. This is Omeda bellows. The air will circulate in and out of the bellow through the breathing circuit. We have a ventilator spill valve, also known as exhaust valve, and the excess gases which are present in the system will be sent into the scavenging system. Single circuit or piston circuit. Piston ventilators do not require driving gas. They are driven by an electric motor to move a piston, thus compressing the gas and moving it into the patient's lung. Cycling mechanism. Ventilators are time cycled in control mode. Newer ventilators have pressure control, spontaneous intermittent mandatory ventilation, and other mode which we will get into it later on. Type of bellows. There are two types of bellows, ascending bellows and descending bellows. The direction of bellow movement during expiration phase determines the bellows classification. Ascending bellows ascend during the expiratory phase, whereas descending bellows descend during the expiratory phase. The driving gases pushes the bellow upward during the inspiratory phase. In this diagram, we can see that the driving gas compresses the bellows during inspiration, and during expiration, the bellows re-expand as the driving gases flow upward. During the expiratory phase, room air is transported into the breathing system at the site of disconnection. The disconnection pressure monitor and a volume monitor may not detect a disconnection as the atmospheric air is still passing on it. Hence, it is difficult to detect any disconnection in descending bellows ventilator. Working principle of a double circuit ascending bellows ventilator. The ventilator consists of a bellow which are contained in a rigid plastic chamber. In some aspect, bellows are similar to a reservoir bag. In this case, just imagine there is a plastic container which is the chamber, and in it we have bellow. So the driving gas is located outside the bellow but within the plastic chamber, and the patient gas circuit typically is inside the bellow itself. During inspiration, the driving gas, which is pressurized O2 and air, are routed towards the space between the plastic chamber, which is the outside space of bellow, thereby increasing the pressure inside the whole canister or the chamber. This increasing pressure will cause the bellow to be compressed, and the anesthetic gas inside the bellow will be delivered to the patient. The compression action is similar to a hand of an anesthesiologist squeezing the reservoir bag. At the same time, during inspiration, the ventilator relief valve, which vents excess gases to the scavenging system, and exhaust valve, which vents driving gas to the atmosphere, are closed. In this pic, you can see first we'll see about ascending bellows. Here you can see the driving gas flow will compress the bellow during inspiration, and during expiration the bellow will re-expand. And during exhalation in the ascending bellow, the breathing gas enter into the bellow, so it expands. And during inspiration, the delivered gas enters into the canister, compressing the bellow and making the breathing gas exit via another port. During expirations, the bellows will re-expand as the breathing system gas flows into it, as I've already explained in the diagram, and the driving gas is vented to the atmosphere through the exhaust valve. After the bellows are fully expanded, excess gases from the breathing system are vented to the scavenging system through ventilator relief valve. Now we will see about the ventilator modes. First, volume controlled ventilation. In this mode, a rate of volume which has already been set will be delivered to the patient with a constant flow. In volume control mode, tidal volume is guaranteed at the expense of variable airway pressures. Volume control ventilation can be delivered by several modes, including control mechanical ventilation (CMV), assist control (AC), and synchronized intermittent mandatory ventilation (SIMV). With volume controlled modes, the clinician must set the desirable tidal volume, respiratory rate, and positive end expiratory pressure, also known as PEEP. Here, the volume is adjusted as we need to avoid the collapse of the lungs, and the respiratory rate are adjusted for reasonable amount of end tidal carbon dioxide. End tidal carbon dioxide is nothing but the concentration of CO2 at the end of an expiration. Ventilator setting in volume controlled ventilation. Tidal volume. It is the volume of gas inspired or expired in each breath during normal respiration. The set value would be 6 to 10 ml per kg body weight. Respiration rate. It would be 8 to 12 breath per minute. PEEP, positive end expiratory pressure. So during expiration, the alveoli collapses and there is no gas exchange. In PEEP, as the name suggests, positive pressure is given at the end of expiration to prevent the alveolar collapse, leading to gas exchange even during expiration. So the set value would be 0 to 5 centimeter H2O. Pressure controlled ventilation. This mode will determine the pressure which is administered to the patient's lung. This mode is used on patients who have no spontaneous breathing. Spontaneous breathing is nothing but anything like normal respiration. In pressure controlled ventilation, the tidal volume can vary and the pressure which has to be inspired is maintained constant. The target pressure is adjusted to produce a reasonable tidal volume to prevent the collapse of lung. Pressure controlled ventilation is useful in neonatal surgeries, in pregnancy, ARDS, found to improve oxygenation in laparoscopic obesity surgeries. Ventilator alarms, low peak inspiration pressure, low exhaled tidal volume, low exhaled CO2, high peak inflation pressure, high PEEP, low O2 supply pressure, negative pressure. Here we will see about some important breath types. First, spontaneous. Here the patient can breathe on his own. It is patient triggered and patient cycle. Second, assisted. As the name suggests, in this mode, the ventilator assists the patient's spontaneous breath to a preset tidal volume and can deliver controlled breath if required. Shortly, it is patient triggered and machine cycled. Third, control or mandatory. In this mode, the total breathing of a patient is controlled by the ventilator at a preset tidal volume and respiratory rate. Shortly, you can say that there is no spontaneous effort by the patient. It is machine triggered and machine cycled. Fourth, supported. Here, the patient will breathe on his own, which is spontaneous breath, and the ventilator will be assisting or supporting the patient for doing so. Bag ventilator switch. Whenever a ventilator is used on anesthesia machine, the APL valve must be functionally removed or isolated from the circuit. A bag or ventilator switch generally accomplish this. There are two options. One is bag, which is manual ventilation. The other is mechanical ventilation, which are provided to the patient. When the switch is turned to bag, then the manual or spontaneous ventilation is possible. The anesthesiologist will be squeezing the breathing bag at a set interval of time. Then, when the switch is turned to ventilator, the breathing bag and the APL valve may be automatically excluded from the breathing circuit, and the ventilator will completely take over the breathing. In this picture, you can see a green switch. You can also see there are two tiny diagrams, one with bag and other with a diagram of bellow. So when you switch the green switch towards bag, which means you have to manually ventilate the patient, and if you switch back to bellows, it means the ventilator will take over the breathing of a patient. Positive end expiratory pressure, also called as PEEP, as I've already mentioned about in ventilator setting of volume controlled mode. Shortly, you can say that PEEP is where the airway pressure is maintained above the atmospheric pressure throughout the whole respiratory cycle. Types of ventilation modes: spontaneous, controlled mandatory ventilation, short form CMV, assisted controlled mandatory ventilation, ACMV, assist controlled ventilation, ASV, intermittent mandatory ventilation, IMV, signalized intermittent mandatory ventilation, SIMV, mandatory minute ventilation, MMV, pressure support ventilation, PSV, pressure controlled ventilation, PCV, and adaptive support ventilation, ASV. Now, I'll just explain shortly about these types of modes in ventilation. Spontaneous is where the patient can breathe on his own. Next, controlled mandatory ventilation. As the name suggests, in this mode, the total breathing of a patient is controlled by the ventilator at a preset tidal volume and respiratory rate. There is no spontaneous effort by the patient. Assist controlled ventilation, also known as continuous mandatory ventilation. As the name suggests, in this mode, the ventilator assists the patient spontaneous breath to preset tidal volume and can also deliver controlled breath if required. Intermittent mandatory ventilation. Here, the breaths are scheduled, but also the patient tries to breathe on his own, and the ventilator senses the patient's effort and reschedules the mandatory breath based on the patient's need. Sixth one, signalized intermittent mandatory ventilation, SIMV. In this mode, the ventilator delivers the preset mandatory breaths. However, these breaths are signalized with the patient's spontaneous breath. Seventh, mandatory minute ventilation. Here, the clinician will set the approximate minute ventilation for the patient and will deliver it mandatorily. Pressure support ventilation. Here, a preset pressure is delivered to each breath of the patient to attain a desired tidal volume. Pressure controlled ventilation. In PCV, ventilator maintains a constant pressure, preset pressure for a preset time. Ventilator will cycle to expiration once preset time is lapsed. Tidal volume is determined by set inspiratory flow and inspiratory time. 10th one, adaptive support ventilation. The ventilator will adjust the breath automatically to the patient's requirement. CPAP. The full form is continuous positive airway pressure. It is a form of positive airway pressure ventilation in which a constant level of pressure greater than the atmospheric pressure is continuously delivered. In another word, it is just the PEEP given to a non intubated patient. It is given through a tight fitting mask. Here, the patient will have to take full effort of breathing, and the machine gives some pressure support to keep the alveoli open. CPAP therapy is highly effective in treating obstructive sleep apnea. What CPAP machine does is that it pressurizes the room air and deliver it through a hose connected to a mask worn by a patient. Weaning. Weaning means discontinuing the ventilatory support, and the patient can start breathing on his own without the ventilator. Once the patient's frequency and tidal volume is adequate, then ventilator can be disconnected and T-tube is attached to the endotracheal tube. If the patient is able to maintain a normal pulmonary and cardiac function for more than 2 hours, extubation can be attempted. Assessment before extubation. What are all the things we have to check before the patient is being extubated? First, muscle function. Ability to lift the head off for 5 seconds. This is a major test. And then adequate cough reflex and adequate airway patency. Extubation should follow simple step. Explain to the patient about extubation. Sit the patient erect in bed, suction the airways for any secretions, deflate the cuff and remove the artificial airway. Treat the patient with an appropriate level of supplemental oxygen via a mask or nasal prongs. Maintain a normal temperature. Prophylactic bronchodilator nebulization may be administered before extubation. Thank you.